Mr. Bolton, there has been a lot of talk about this administration's response to the coronavirus crisis. And among many things, the decision that had been made to disband the unit President Obama had created to monitor and prevent pandemics was, in fact, that happened under your direction. And you're combined some members of that office with staffers working on weapons of mass destruction. Those are two very different things. Looking back, can you admit that this was a mistake?
No, combining the biosecurity unit with the weapons of mass destruction unit, I think, strengthened the emphasis on the threat of biological weapons and pandemics. That's one reason why I put them together. And I think the media have been very clear in reporting that the people who are currently exercising those responsibilities at the NSC in early January, were raising the red flags about the dangers that the coronavirus could pose in China and around the world. The problem was not that the staff on the NSC wasn't functioning. I think they did. I wasn't there. I'm not taking credit for it. They did the right thing. The problem was that when they raised these red flags, the occupant of the Oval Office didn't want to hear them. There was an empty chair behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office. The president didn't want to hear anything bad about Xi Jinping. He didn't want to hear anything about China concealing what was really going on with the coronavirus, and he didn't want to hear anything bad about the economic effects of the disease in China, which could upset his trade negotiations with China, number one. And number two, he particularly did not want to hear about the possibility that if the pandemic spread to the United States, it could damage the economy severely and therefore his ticket to re-election. So the problem here, not the CDC, not the National Institutes of Health, not Health and Human Services, not the NSC staff. The problem in America's, I think, inadequate response to the coronavirus was in the Oval Office.
Right. And so let's go here then. You say you want Trump to be a one-term president. We agree on that. Yet you still won't vote for Joe Biden. I find that odd. You're going to write in a conservative instead, which will basically be a total throwaway of a vote. After everything you just described, wouldn't the patriotic and smart thing to do would be to vote for Joe Biden? Isn't it clear this election is so much bigger than party affiliations and party alliances? It's about saving the country. We're in a very bad spot right now with this guy, and you know it.
Yeah. Well, as I've said, I hope Donald Trump is a one-term president, but I have to be true to my philosophical convictions as well. That's why I'll write in a conservative Republican. The good news I can give to you is that I was born and raised in Maryland. I live in Maryland today. I'm a registered voter there. Joe Biden's going to carry Maryland no matter what I do.
Right.
Ambassador, I was going to ask you a different question, but you say that Trump's not fit to be president, and 120,000 people have died from the coronavirus. Race relations in our country are at an all-time low. And just today, you've admitted that you were in the room when President Trump exacted a quid pro quo with Ukraine. You were in the room when he was asking for China to meddle in our election. You were in the room, which is what you say is the title of your book, and you chose not to testify. You are one of the very reasons, if not the reason, that President Trump is still in office and wasn't impeached. Help me understand why your silence is not complicity in this.
Because with all due respect,
where it happened.
Thank you. With all due respect, my testimony wasn't going to make any difference. And the reason for that was because, let me finish, please, because of the Democratic impeachment malpractice. They drove the parties into their partisan corners, and that's where it stayed. I've chosen a different route. I've laid the evidence before the ultimate judges, who are the American people. And if you don't trust their judgment, then there's a real problem with our democracy and our Constitution. They're the ones that should make this decision. And what better time to assess the competence and character of Donald Trump than the middle of an election?